The shuttle docked with a soft hiss, and Una pressed her face against the cold window. Orbital Station Helix 9 stretched out before her like a giant wheel spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Lights blinked along its metal arms. Ships of strange shapes moved around it like fish swimming near a reef. She had never seen anything so big in her entire 8 years of life. "Una, get your bag," her father said. Tay was a tall man with tired eyes and gentle hands. He studied alien creatures for a living, and this station was his new workplace. He had told her many times that this was a great opportunity. She would see things no other child on Earth had ever seen. Her mother Hannah walked behind them, checking her tablet and frowning at the screen. She was an engineer who built cages and walls and barriers. On this station, her job was to make sure dangerous things stayed where they belonged. The airlock opened, and they stepped into the station. The air smelled different here. It was clean, but strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Una wrinkled her nose and looked around. Aliens walked past them in every direction. Some were tall and thin with too many arms. Others were short and round with skin that changed colors. A few floated in special suits filled with water. "Stay close," Hannah warned. "This is not like home." Creature approached them. It stood on 4 legs and had a body like a giant insect. Its eyes were black and shiny, and its mouth parts clicked when it spoke. The translator device on its chest turned the clicks into words. "You are the human family. I am Vorik. I will show you to your living area." Tay bowed his head politely. "Thank you for welcoming us." Vorik's eyes moved to Una. The alien stared at her for a long moment. "You brought a young one." "This is unexpected," my daughter Tay said. "Una, children do not belong on this station," Vorik said. His voice through the translator sounded flat, but Una could tell he was not happy. "There are dangers here that even adults cannot face." "She will stay in the residential area," Hannah said quickly. "She will be safe." Vorik made a clicking sound that the translator did not turn into words. Then he turned and began walking. "Follow me." They walked through long corridors with curved walls. Una tried to look at everything at once. She saw windows that showed stars and distant planets. She saw machines that hummed and glowed. She saw doors marked with symbols she could not read. But what she noticed most were the aliens. They all stopped talking when the humans walked past. They stared with many different kinds of eyes. Some looked curious. Some looked afraid. A few looked angry. "Why do they look at us like that?" Una whispered to her father. Tay put his hand on her shoulder. "Humans are still new to the galaxy. They do not know us very well yet." They reached a section of the station that looked different from the rest. The walls here were painted in soft colors, and the air smelled less strange. A sign showed human letters that said Earth's Residential Wing. "This is where you will live," Vorik said. "Do not leave this section without permission. Do not enter restricted areas. Do not touch anything that does not belong to you." "We understand," Hannah said. Vorik looked at Una again. "The child especially must stay here. There is something on the station that she must never see." Never. Una wanted to ask what it was, but Vorik turned and walked away before she could speak. His 4 legs made a tapping sound on the floor until he disappeared. Round a corner, their new home was small but comfortable. Una had her own room with a bed and a desk and a window that showed the stars. She unpacked her things and put her favorite stuffed animal on her pillow. It was a small gray cat with button eyes. She had named it Cloud because of its soft fur. That night, her parents talked in quiet voices in the next room. Una could not sleep, so she listened through the thin wall. "The Carveth arrived last week," Tay said. "That is why they are so nervous." "What is a Carveth?" Hannah asked. "The most dangerous creature ever discovered. It comes from a planet called Nox-7, a world so deadly that no species has ever survived there for more than a few hours. The Carveth is the top predator of that world. It has killed over 200 researchers across the galaxy. No one has ever touched one and lived." Una's heart beat faster. She had never heard of such a creature. They brought it here. Hannah sounded scared. "They want to study it, understand it, maybe find a way to stop it from killing," Tay sighed. "But honestly, I think they are fools. Some things are not meant to be caged. Yuna could not stop thinking about the creature. What did it look like? How big was it? Why did it kill so many people? She lay in her bed and stared at the ceiling until her eyes grew heavy. The next day, she explored the residential area. There were other humans here, but no other children. They smiled at her and said hello, but they were all busy with their work. Yuna quickly grew bored. She found a common room with games and books, but she had no one to play with. She found a small garden with plants from Earth, but it was quiet and lonely. On the second day, she discovered something interesting. Near the back of the residential area, there was a maintenance hatch in the wall. It was small, just big enough for a child to fit through. She looked around to make sure no one was watching. Then she touched the handle. It was not locked. She did not open it, not yet. But she remembered where it was. On the third day, she was sitting in the common room when a screen on the wall flickered to life. It showed a news report from the station. An alien with blue skin was talking about safety rules and work schedules. Then the image changed to show a dark room with thick metal walls. Something moved in the shadows. Something big. The Carveth remains contained, the alien said. All personnel are reminded to stay away from Sector 7. The creature is extremely dangerous. Any approach will result in immediate death. The shadow moved again, and for just a moment, Yuna saw it clearly. It was huge, with 6 legs and black armor covering its body. Its eyes glowed like blue fire. Spines rose from its back, like the fins of a terrible fish. It opened its mouth, and she saw teeth as long as her arm. But Yuna did not feel afraid. She felt something else. Something she could not explain. That night, while her parents slept, she went to the maintenance hatch. She opened it slowly, careful not to make a sound. A dark tunnel stretched out before her. Leading into the unknown parts of the station, she looked back at her room one last time. Then she crawled into the darkness. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Yuna crawled on her hands and knees, feeling her way through the blackness. The metal was cold under her palms. Strange sounds echoed around her, the hums and clicks of machines working deep inside the station walls. She was not afraid. She had always been curious, always wanting to see what was behind closed doors and around hidden corners. Her mother said it would get her in trouble one day. Maybe her mother was right. But Yuna kept crawling anyway. After what felt like a long time, she saw light ahead. A soft blue glow came through a grate in the floor of the tunnel. She moved toward it carefully and looked down. Below her was a corridor she had never seen before. The walls were thick and gray, marked with warning signs in many different languages. Red lights blinked slowly near every door. This was Sector 7, the forbidden place. Yuna found another hatch and pushed it open. She dropped down into the corridor as quietly as she could. Her small shoes made soft sounds on the floor. She listened for guards or workers, but there was no one. The hallway was empty. She walked slowly, reading the signs on the walls, even though she did not understand most of them. Pictures showed creatures with sharp teeth and claws. Words warned of death and danger. But Yuna kept walking. Something was pulling her forward, a feeling in her chest that she could not explain. Then she found it. At the end of the corridor was a massive door, bigger than any door she had ever seen. It was made of metal so thick that she could not guess how heavy it was. A window of special glass showed what was inside. Yuna stood on her toes and looked through the window. The room beyond was huge and mostly empty. The floor was made of rough stone, and the walls were bare metal. Strange lights hung from the ceiling, casting everything in a pale blue glow. And in the center of the room, lying on the cold ground, was the creature. The Carveth was even bigger than she had imagined. Its body was long and powerful, covered in black armor that looked like it was made of shadow itself. 6 legs were tucked under its massive form. Spines rose from its back, each one sharp enough to cut through steel. Its tail was thick and ended in a point like a spear, but it was the eyes that caught her attention. They glowed with soft blue light, like stars trapped in darkness, and they were looking directly at her. Yuna's heart stopped for a moment. The creature had seen her. It knew she was there. She waited for it to roar, to attack, to throw itself against the barrier. That was what the aliens said it always did. That was why so many people had died. But the Carveth did not move. It just watched her with those glowing eyes. Una pressed her hand against the glass. "Hello," she whispered. The creature's head lifted slightly. Its nostrils moved as it sniffed the air. A low sound came from its throat, deep and rumbling like distant thunder. But it was not a growl. It was something else. Una looked around and found a control panel near the door. Most of the buttons meant nothing to her, but she saw one that was labeled feeding slot in human letters. Someone had added the translation for the workers. She pressed the button, and a small opening appeared in the wall near the floor. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a honey rice cake. She had taken it from the kitchen earlier, planning to eat it as a midnight snack. But now she had a better idea. She pushed the rice cake through the slot. It fell into the containment room and landed on the stone floor with a soft sound. The Carveth's eyes moved to look at the food. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the creature stood up. Una gasped. Standing, the Carveth was taller than her house back on Earth. Its legs were thick as tree trunks, and its claws scraped against the floor with each step. It moved toward the rice cake, lowering its massive head to sniff at the small piece of food. Then, gently, more gently than Una thought possible, it picked up the rice cake with the tip of its tongue and ate it. "Do you like it?" Una asked through the glass. "My mom makes them. They are my favorite." The Carveth turned its head and looked at her again. That rumbling sound came from its throat once more. It walked closer to the barrier, so close that Una could see the patterns in its armor. The way its spines caught the light, the strange beauty in its terrifying form. It was not trying to attack. It was not trying to escape. It was just looking at her. "Everyone is scared of you," Una said softly. "But I do not think you are scary. I think you are lonely. Are you lonely?" The creature lowered its head until its eyes were level with hers. Only the glass separated them. This close, she could see that its eyes were not just blue. They had flecks of silver in them, like stars in a night sky. "I am going to call you Baram," she decided. "It means wind, because you are fast and strong like the wind." Baram made a new sound, softer than before, almost like a purr. Una smiled. "I like you too." Somewhere in the station, a monitoring drone floated past a security station. On its screen, a small human shape stood before the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. The footage recorded for 3 seconds before a glitch wiped it away. The guard on duty saw nothing. Una stayed for as long as she dared. She talked to Baram about her life on Earth, about her favorite foods, about the gray cat stuffed animal waiting on her pillow. The creature listened. At least it seemed to listen. Its eyes never left her face. When she finally knew she had to leave, she pressed her hand against the glass one more time. "I will come back," she promised. "Tomorrow night. I will bring more rice cakes." Abram's head lifted. The rumble in its throat grew louder, and Una understood. It did not want her to go. "I have to," she said sadly. "But I will come back. I promise." She turned and walked back down the corridor, found the hatch, and climbed into the tunnel. The journey back to her room felt shorter than before. She dropped down into the residential area, closed the maintenance hatch behind her, tiptoed to her bed. Cloud the stuffed cat was still on her pillow. She picked it up and held it close. "I made a friend," she whispered to the toy. "His name is Baram. He is very big and very scary looking. But he is not mean. He is just alone." She closed her eyes and smiled. For the first time since coming to the station, she did not feel lonely either. Far away in Sector 7, the Carveth lay back down on the cold stone floor. But its eyes stayed open, glowing in the darkness, staring at the spot where the small human had stood. For the first time in its long and violent life, it had felt something it did not understand. It had felt seen, not as a monster, not as a threat, just as a creature that wanted to be known, and it would wait. It would wait for her to come back. 2 weeks passed, and Una kept her promise. Every night, after her parents fell asleep, she crawled through the tunnel and visited Baram. She brought rice cakes and dried fruit and small pieces of sweet bread. She brought picture books and read stories out loud, holding the pages up to the glass so the creature could see the colorful drawings. She sang songs her grandmother had taught her, old melodies about mountains and rivers and the moon, and every night, Bahram was waiting for her. The creature would stand at the barrier, its glowing eyes watching the spot where she always appeared. When she came around the corner, its tail would move slowly from side to side. When she spoke, its head would tilt as if it was trying to understand every word. When she sang, the rumbling in its throat would grow soft and steady. Like a heartbeat, Yuna learned things about Bahram that no scientist had ever discovered. She learned that it liked sweet foods better than meat. She learned that it made different sounds for different feelings. A deep rumble meant it was happy. A higher sound meant it was curious. A soft hiss meant it was tired and wanted to sleep. She learned that it was gentle. Its claws could cut through metal, but when she pushed food through the slot, it took each piece carefully, never rushing, never being rough. Its teeth could crush bone, but when it made sounds at her, they were always quiet and kind. Most importantly, she learned that it remembered. It remembered which stories she had read before. It remembered the songs she sang. It remembered her in the science wing of the station. Palax was confused. Palax was a Keth, one of the water-dwelling species that breathed through gills and thought, with 3 separate brains. He had studied dangerous creatures for 60 years. He had seen monsters that could destroy cities and beasts that could survive in the heart of a star. But he had never seen anything like what was happening with the Karvith. "The readings make no sense," he said to his assistant. A small furry creature named Toby. "Look at this." On the screen before them, charts showed the Karvat's behavior over the past 2 weeks. Heart rate, brain activity, stress hormones, aggression levels. For months before, all the numbers had been high and dangerous. The creature had been a bomb waiting to explode, but now everything had changed. Stress levels have dropped by 70%, Palax said, pointing at the chart. Its aggression markers are almost 0. It sleeps peacefully at night, instead of pacing and attacking the walls. It even seems to have regular patterns of excitement at the same time each night. What could cause such a change? Toby asked. Palax did not know. He decided to check the deep security logs, the recordings that were usually only reviewed if something went wrong. He searched through hours of footage, looking for anything unusual, and then he found it. The image was blurry, caught by a drone that had passed at just the wrong moment. But it was clear enough. A small shape stood before the containment barrier. A human shape. A child. Palax nearly choked on his breathing water. That is impossible. He searched for more footage but found only fragments. The monitoring systems had glitches and errors during the same times each night. Someone had been visiting the Karveth. Someone small enough to fit through maintenance tunnels. Someone brave enough, or foolish enough, to approach the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. A human child. Palax immediately called an emergency meeting. Within an hour, the station's leaders gathered in a conference room. Commander Oren was there, a tall reptilian Molvari, with scars on his face from battles long past. Vorik the Thelan diplomat stood on his 4 legs, his black eyes showing nothing. Several other scientists and officers filled the remaining seats, and at the end of the table sat Tay and Hannah, their faces pale with shock. "Your daughter has been entering the Karvith containment sector," Palax said, showing the footage on a large screen. "Every night for 2 weeks," Hannah covered her mouth with her hand. Tay stared at the screen as if he could not believe what he was seeing. "This is why I warned you," Vorik clicked angrily. "Human children are reckless. They do not understand danger. They do not understand consequences." "She should be dead," Commander Oren growled. "The Karvith has killed everything that has ever approached it. How is this possible?" Palax brought up more data. "That is the strange thing. Since the child began visiting, the creature has become calm, peaceful. It has not attacked the barriers once. It eats regularly. It sleeps well. The child has somehow tamed it." Tamed. Vorik made a sound of disbelief. "You cannot tame a Karvith." It is a killing machine. It feels nothing. The data disagrees, Palak said quietly. Something is happening that we do not understand. Where is Yuna now? She is in the common room, an officer reported. Being watched by guards? We must remove the child from the station immediately, Commander Oren declared. This is too dangerous. The creature could kill her at any moment. We must increase containment protocols, Vorik added. Sedate the Karvith. Make sure this bond, whatever it is, cannot continue. Hannah stood up suddenly. Wait, you said the creature is calmer now? You said it has not attacked? Maybe. Maybe Yuna is helping. Maybe this is a good thing? A good thing? Vorik's voice was sharp. The creature has killed over 200 people. It cannot be trusted. It cannot be allowed to form connections. What if it becomes protective of the child? What if it tries to escape to reach her? The words hung in the air like a warning. Commander Oren nodded slowly. Vorik is right. We must act now. Prepare the sedation drones. We will put the creature to sleep and arrange transport for the human family. This experiment is over. An alarm screamed through the station. Every head turned toward the door. Red lights flashed along the walls. A mechanical voice spoke through every speaker in every language. Warning. Containment breach in Sector 7. Repeat. Containment breach. The Karvith has escaped. For a moment, no one moved. Then chaos exploded. Officers ran for weapons. Scientists rushed to lock down their labs. Vorik made a high-pitched sound of terror. Commander Oren grabbed his communicator and shouted, Orders. Tay and Hannah looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Yuna, they said together. They ran deep in the station. Alarms echoed through metal corridors. Emergency doors slammed shut. Crews sealed themselves in safe rooms. The station that had seemed so full of life was now frozen with fear. And somewhere in the darkness, a massive creature moved through the shadows. Its claws scraped against the floor. Its eyes glowed like blue fire. It ignored the screaming aliens and the locked doors. It was searching for a little girl who had called it Baram, who had read its stories, who had seen it not as a monster, but as a friend, and nothing in the galaxy was going to stop it from finding her. The station had become a place of nightmares. Emergency lights cast red shadows on every wall. Alarms screamed without stopping. Aliens ran through corridors, pushing each other in their rush to find safety. Some cried out in their own languages. Others were silent, their faces frozen with terror. Commander Oren stood in the security center, watching screens that showed every part of the station. His soldiers were moving through the corridors in teams of 5, armed with the most powerful weapons they had. They were the best fighters from a dozen different species. They had trained for moments like this. It did not matter. On one screen, a team of Mulveri warriors encountered the Karveth in a storage area. The creature moved like liquid shadow, faster than anything its size should be able to move. Claws flashed. Tails whipped. Bodies flew through the air and crashed against walls. But when the dust cleared, the soldiers were alive. Injured, broken, unable to stand, but alive. It is not killing them, Commander Oren said slowly. Why is it not killing them? Palax floated beside him in his water suit, watching the same footage. It is moving with purpose. It has a destination. Where? Palax checked his tablet. Based on its path, it is heading toward the human residential wing. Commander Oren's blood went cold. The child. In another part of the station, Tay and Hannah ran as fast as their legs could carry them. They pushed past crowds of aliens. They climbed over fallen equipment. They ignored the pain in their lungs and the fear in their hearts. Yuna. Hannah screamed, Yuna! They reached the common room where Yuna had been placed. Guards stood outside the door, their weapons raised, their bodies shaking. Inside, Yuna sat on a chair, her small hands folded in her lap. She looked calm. To calm, we have to get her out of here, Tay said to the guards. The creature is coming this way. We know, one guard replied, his voice trembling. We have orders to protect her at all costs. You cannot protect her from that thing, Hannah said. Nothing can. Yuna stood up. Bahram is not a thing. Everyone turned to look at her. The small girl walked toward the door, past the guards, past her parents. She moved like she was in a dream. Yuna, no. Tay grabbed her arm. You cannot go out there. The creature is loose. It will kill you. Yuna looked up at her father with eyes that seemed older than her 8 years. He will not hurt me, father. He is my friend. He is scared and confused. He is looking for me because he does not understand what is happening. I have to help him. This is madness, Hannah said, tears streaming down her face. You are just a child. You do not understand. I understand better than anyone, Yuna said softly. Everyone looks at him and sees a monster. I look at him and see someone who needs love. That is why he trusts me. That is why he came looking for me. He is not trying to hurt people. He is trying to find the one person who was kind to him. She pulled her arm free from her father's grip and walked out of the common room, Yuna. Both parents screamed, but she was already running. Her small legs carried her through the corridors, following a path she somehow knew by heart. Behind her, she could hear her parents calling, guards shouting, aliens crying out in fear, but she did not stop in the security center. Commander Oren watched on the screens as the human child ran toward the Karvith. His hand hovered over a control panel. With one button, he could seal every door between them. He could trap the creature. He could save the child, but something made him hesitate. Vorik appeared beside him, his insect body trembling. What are you waiting for? Seal the doors. Save the child. Look at the creature, Palax said quietly. On the screen, the Karveth had stopped moving. It stood in the middle of a large corridor, its head raised, its nostrils moving. It was sniffing the air. And then, slowly it turned toward a connecting hallway. Toward Yuna. It knows she is coming, Palax said. It is waiting for her. It will kill her. Vorik clicked frantically. It will tear her apart. Maybe, Commander Oren said, or maybe not. They watched in silence as the two figures moved toward each other. The massive predator from a death world. The tiny human child. One had killed hundreds. The other had shown it kindness. In moments, they would meet. Yuna ran around a corner and stopped. Bahram stood before her, filling the entire corridor with its enormous body. Its black armor gleamed under the emergency lights. Its spines rose from its back like a crown. Its eyes, those beautiful blue eyes with flecks of silver, stared down at her. Behind her, guards took positions. Weapons hummed as they powered up. One clear shot, they thought. One clear shot could end this. Yuna did not look back. She walked forward. Bahram, she said softly. It is okay. I am here. The Karveth lowered its head. That familiar rumbling sound came from its throat, deep and warm. It took a step toward her, then another. Its massive claws clicked against the floor, while Yuna reached up with her small hands. Every alien watching through cameras held their breath. Every guard with a weapon aimed felt their fingers freeze on the trigger. Time itself seemed to stop. The Karvith bent its great head down until its face was inches from Yuna. It was so close that its breath moved her hair. So close that she could see her own reflection in its glowing eyes. She wrapped her arms around its snout. I missed you too, she whispered. The creature made a sound no one had ever heard before. It was soft and gentle, almost like a song. Its eyes closed halfway. Its spines flattened against its back. The most dangerous creature in the galaxy pressed its face against a human child and stayed perfectly still in the security center. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Commander Oren lowered his hand from the control panel. His soldiers still had clear shots. One command, and they could fire. But what would be the point? Vorik broke the silence. The child runs toward death. Humans are insane. Tay and Hannah arrived at the scene, pushing past guards, prepared to throw themselves between their daughter and the monster. But when they saw what was happening, they stopped. Yuna was sitting on the floor now, her back against Bahram's massive body. The creature had curled around her like a cat around a kitten, its tail wrapped protectively near her feet. Its head rested on the ground beside her, eyes watching anyone who came too close. Tay stepped forward slowly. The Karvath's eyes followed him, but it did not move. It did not growl. "Do not shoot," Tay said to the guards without looking away from his daughter. "If you fire, you will start a war with humanity, and you will lose something the galaxy has never seen before." Commander Oren's voice came through a speaker. "Stand down. All units, stand down." Weapons lowered. Tensions eased. But the scene remained, burned into the memory of everyone who saw it. A human child and the galaxy's fiercest predator, together in a corridor. Surrounded by aliens who could not understand what they were seeing, Yuna looked up at her parents and smiled. "I told you," she said. "He is my friend." And Bahram made that soft sound again, like a song, like a promise. As the station slowly began to breathe again, 1 month had passed since the escape. The galaxy had changed. Not in the way stars moved or planets turned, but in the way creatures thought about each other. Videos of Yuna and Bahram had spread across every network, every world, every species that had ever wondered about the strange beings called humans on 100 different planets. Aliens watched the footage again and again. A tiny human girl running toward a monster, arms wrapped around a face that had brought death to so many. A creature that killed everything, choosing to curl around a child like she was the most precious thing in the universe. No one could explain it, but everyone wanted to understand. The Galactic Council gathered on the neutral world of Prime Station, where representatives from every major species came to discuss important matters. The hall was enormous, with seats rising in circles around a central floor. Thousands of aliens filled those seats, all of them watching, all of them waiting. Palak stood at the center, his water suit glowing softly as he prepared to speak. Behind him, a massive screen showed images and data. This was the moment scientists across the galaxy had been waiting for. Distinguished members of the council, Palak began. "I present the findings of our investigation into the human-Karvath bond." The screen changed to show maps and charts of Earth, the human homeworld. Pictures of wolves and dogs appeared side by side, tigers and house cats, wild horses and gentle ponies. "Humans evolved on a death world," Palax explained. "Their planet is filled with dangerous creatures, extreme weather, deadly diseases. By all logic, they should have died out long ago. But they survived, and they did more than survive. They became partners with the very creatures that could kill them." A video played showing a human child riding a horse. Another showed a human sleeping next to a large dog. Another showed a human hand feeding a wild bird. "Humans do not just tame animals," Palax continued. "They bond with them. They form connections of love and trust with creatures that have teeth and claws and strength far greater than their own. Over thousands of years, they turned wolves into loyal companions. They turned wildcats into family members. They even form bonds with creatures they keep in places called zoos, animals that could kill them with one strike." The council listened in silence. Many had seen these things before without understanding them. Now, for the first time, the pieces were coming together. The human child Yuna did not do anything magical, Palax said. She did what humans have always done. She looked at a dangerous creature and saw not a threat but a possibility. She showed kindness where others showed fear. She offered friendship where others offered weapons. And the Karvath, despite everything we believed about it, responded. The screen changed again to show Bahram in its new habitat. The creature was no longer kept in a bare cage with metal walls. Now it lived in a large space with plants and rocks and a pool of clean water. And sitting beside it, reading a book out loud, was Yuna. "Our studies have led us to a conclusion," Palax said. "We propose that humans be officially classified as a bonding-capable apex species. They are not weak. They are not fragile. They are something far more extraordinary. They turn enemies into allies. They make families from strangers. They see potential in places where others see only danger." The council murmured and whispered among themselves. This was not what anyone had expected. Vorik rose from his seat, his insect body stiff with old habits. "This is all very impressive," he clicked. "But what does it mean for the rest of us? Are we supposed to let human children play with our most dangerous creatures?" "No," Palak said patiently. "But perhaps we should learn from them. Perhaps we should ask ourselves why we always chose weapons when they chose hands open in friendship. Perhaps our methods were never the only way." The debate continued for hours. Some species argued that humans were too unpredictable, too emotional, too strange to be trusted. Others said that these very qualities made them valuable allies. In the end, a vote was called. The motion passed. Humanity was officially recognized as a bonding-capable apex species, a designation that had never existed before because no one had ever earned it. Far away, on orbital station, Helix 9. Yuna did not know about councils or votes or galactic politics. She only knew that she was allowed to stay with Bahram now. Her parents had been given special permission to remain on the station, and a new habitat had been built where the creature could live more comfortably. She visited every day, no longer sneaking through tunnels, but walking through the front door like she belonged there. Because she did, Tay watched his daughter from an observation window. Beside him stood Hannah, her hand on his arm. They had been scared at first. Any parent would be. But now, watching Yuna brush Bahram's armored hide with a special tool, while the creature rumbled with contentment, they felt something different. Pride. "She is going to do amazing things," Hannah said softly. "She already has," Tay replied. Vorik appeared beside them, his many legs clicking on the floor. The Thelan diplomat had changed over the past month. The fear in his black eyes had been replaced with something else. Curiosity, perhaps. Or respect. "I owe you an apology," Vorik said, his translator turning his clicks into words. "When you first arrived, I said children did not belong here. I said your daughter was reckless." "You are not entirely wrong," Tay admitted. "She is reckless," perhaps Vorik agreed. "But perhaps reckless is another word for brave. I have lived for many years and seen many things, but I have never seen anything like your child. We feared the wrong species all along." He turned to watch Yuna through the window. The little girl was now sitting against Bahram's side, her head leaning on the creature's warm body. Her eyes were closed. She was falling asleep. "The monster could only destroy," Vorik said quietly. "The humans. They tame." He walked away, leaving Tay and Hannah alone with their thoughts. That evening, station's observation deck was open for visitors. Aliens from many species gathered to watch the stars, to talk about what they had witnessed, to wonder about the future. In the center of the deck, a special area had been roped off. Inside that area, Yuna sat on Bahram's back. The Karvith moved slowly across the deck, each step gentle and careful. Its glowing eyes looked out at the stars streaming past the windows. Yuna held onto the base of its spines, not tightly, just enough to keep her balance. Her hair floated slightly in the low gravity. Her smile was the brightest thing in the room. Aliens pointed and stared. Some took pictures. Some simply watched in wonder. A creature that had been their greatest nightmare was now carrying a human child like she was its own. "Where do you want to go?" Yuna asked, leaning forward to whisper in Bahram's ear. The creature made a soft sound, that gentle song that only she understood. Its head turned toward the window, toward the endless sea of stars beyond. Yuna laughed. "Me too," she said. "Someday. We will go see all of them together." And as the station turned slowly in the void of space, as aliens watched and wondered and began to see humans in a new light, a little girl and her impossible friend dreamed of adventures yet to come. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of wonder. And sometimes all it took to change everything was one small act of kindness, one moment of courage. One child who looked at a monster and saw a friend. The universe would never be the same again.